This is the first 1 kilowatt-hour class power station I've carried one-handed without hating my life. And it still kept my fridge and workstation running through a midday outage without a hiccup. Portable stations like this live in that space between convenience and real backup. I reach for them when I'm camping off-grid, working through a storm, or just need clean AC in places where wall outlets don't exist. The BLUETTI Elite 100 V2 slots right into that lane for people who need solid AC output, fast recharge options, and something I can actually move around the house or into a car without pulling a muscle. The design choices here matter in daily use more than I expected. The hidden handle sounds like a small thing until I stack gear on top of it in a van or slide it into a cabinet. Nothing snags and it flips up with a dampened feel that's easy on the hand. Weight is 25 pounds, which is the difference between I'll bring it just in case and I'll leave it in the garage. The footprint is compact, and the front-facing ports save me from constantly rotating the unit to get at what I need. The shell has a matte, slightly soft touch that resists scuffs, and there's a faint new plastic scent during the first couple of days that airs out with use. I do wish there were port covers and some basic sealing, because dust and sand can get into the AC sockets if you're car camping at the beach. Setup feels refreshingly simple. I plugged it in with a standard PC-style cable, no brick, and told the app to enable the faster AC charging when I knew the grid was stable. The app connection over Bluetooth and Wi-Fi has been reliable for me, letting me toggle AC-DC quickly and cap charge speeds when I'm on a smaller circuit. The display is bright enough to read in daylight and gives me the essentials without tapping through menus. One quirk: for certain inductive loads, it tends to show apparent power rather than real power, so the number can look inflated versus what's actually being pulled from the battery. And some settings on the unit itself require pressing buttons in a certain combination. It's fine once you know it, but the app is what I rely on for anything beyond the basics. Core performance is what makes or breaks a station this size. The Elite 100 V2 delivers steady 120 volts AC at 1,800 watts continuous, which covers most of the real appliances I care about. I've run a 1,500 watt space heater, a coffee maker, and a toaster, not all at once, but in typical morning bursts, and it handled those without drama. The power-lifting behavior for resistive loads means some surges that would normally trip other units simply ride through, which is useful when heating elements spike. I don't treat it like a whole home solution. A high-end induction cooktop that wanted a steady 2,000 watts was outside its comfort zone for anything more than short stints. That's expected for this class. Where it surprised me was the noise profile. Under light loads, it's barely audible, more library hush than gadget whine, and even when the fans kick in during fast charging, the tone is a low hum that fades into background noise. As a UPS behind my desktop and router, the switchover during an outage was fast enough that screens didn't flicker. I only noticed the change because the fan spun up after a minute to cool the inverter. That's how I want a UPS experience to feel. Uneventful. Charging flexibility is the other pillar here. I've used the fast AC charge on a dedicated circuit and watched it jump from low to work ready in the time it takes to make breakfast. When I'm moving between campsites, the optional high-speed vehicle charger that taps the alternator is the only way I've found car charging to be genuinely practical. Normal 12-volt cigarette lighter charging is too slow for me. Solar input is robust, but there's a catch. Hitting the top end requires the right panel configuration. With a single 400-watt panel in winter sun, I saw high 300s, which is actually impressive conversion. But you won't get the headline recharge time unless you're feeding it higher voltage and current. Let me talk about the fridge, because that's a classic test. Early on, a small compressor fridge gave me the dreaded startup click and a shutdown. After updating the firmware through the app, it started cleanly and ran overnight. The screen still reports a bigger number than my inline meter shows, which goes back to that apparent power quirk. But the runtime and stability were what I care about. If you have an older fridge with a lumpy startup, adding a small resistive load like a lamp on the same circuit sometimes smooths things out. I've seen that trick work more than once. I used this unit for a remote workday more than I planned. I had a desktop, 2 monitors, fiber ONT, and a router plugged in with the unit sitting quietly under the desk. It gave me a full work block and then some, and the 140-watt USB-C port let me fast charge a 16-inch MacBook Pro directly. I like not having to waste an AC outlet and a power brick for that. Time remaining estimates are generally helpful, but near a full charge or at very low loads, the hours value becomes more of a long-time placeholder than a precise countdown. That's common on a lot of stations, and I treat it as an approximation. Outdoors, the small size matters more than I expected. It fits under a bench in the van, and the flush top lets me stack storage bins without juggling space. I've run lights, a portable fridge, camera batteries, and a small induction burner for quick meals. Cold mornings around 15 degrees Fahrenheit didn't wreck the capacity as much as I feared. I still got useful runtime without babying it. I wouldn't leave it in the open during rain or on windy beaches though. Without port covers, I've had to blow out sand from the AC sockets after a day near the water. That's a fixable oversight in future versions. A unique strength here is the way it handles fast turnaround. If power blinks on for an hour during a storm, I can refill enough to get through the night. That kind of opportunistic charging is the unsung hero for real emergencies. The LFP battery chemistry is the other quiet win. I use stations a lot, and the lifespan of this cell type means I'm not babying it cycle to cycle. I plug it in, use it, and don't stress about wearing it out quickly. There are trade-offs. The unit doesn't support expansion batteries, so what you buy is the capacity you get. There's no wireless charging pad, which I would have used for a phone. Some regional versions offer fewer AC outlets than I'd like, and while the 4 on this model cover my essentials, I find myself adding a small power strip for multiple low-wattage devices. And while the bio-based shell is a cool sustainability angle, the faint odor early on is noticeable to sensitive noses before it dissipates. Here's a specific use case that has already paid for itself in convenience. I was filming indoors during a construction outage window. I plugged lights, the camera charger, and my editing laptop into the Elite 100 V2, set it behind a stand, and just worked. No generator fumes, no extension cords, and when power returned midday, I topped it up at high speed during lunch. Later that week, I dropped it into the van with a compact solar array and kept a portable fridge and routers running while moving between trailheads. It's the same unit serving 2 different days, and I didn't think twice about it. A few smart touches round it out. The UPS mode that actually feels seamless. The app control that saves me from crouching and tapping buttons. The hidden handle that makes it truly packable. And the quiet operation that doesn't wake me up when I'm running a CPAP or trying to sleep near it in a small space. If you need a portable station that balances real AC power with size and silence, this is the one I'd recommend. It makes sense for campers, van dwellers, remote workers who want UPS protection, and homeowners who want a steady backup for essentials without wheeling a giant box around. If you need IP-rated durability, wireless charging, or expansive capacity, this won't check every box. And if your workflow demands continuous draw above the typical 1800-watt class, you're shopping at a different size and weight bracket anyway. For most of the days that actually happen, quick charge windows, short outages, weekend trips, and desk power when the grid is flaky, the BLUETTI Elite 100 V2 hits a sweet spot that I've been waiting for. It's not trying to be everything, it's trying to be the right thing often. And in my time using it, it succeeds. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more real-world tech reviews and drop your questions or your own experiences with portable power in the comments.